Good evening, guys. I'm Andy Brigham.
I'm David Smith, and we're here today to talk to you about Microsoft Project.
Some of you may have heard of Microsoft Project. It's a scheduling and project management software by Microsoft. It has some really good benefits. Some of you might also be familiar with applications that are similar to this. Rike, Paymo, TimeFox, or just a few of them that come to mind that are also really popular. However, we chose Microsoft Project for a few reasons. One, it's got a well-documented training system. Two, it's got a vast support network. Anybody who's looked online can tell you that anytime you type in Microsoft, anything afterwards, you'll get a dearth of information. Microsoft's own web page makes it really easy to find these and answer questions that you have just by looking in Google. So that's another reason we did it. And then the last one, it's a successful product. It's got a good track record. People have been using it since roughly 1985, and they like the outcomes that they get with this product. One of the benefits to using Microsoft Project over another software is it provides such great insight to both the broad and the fine scope of the work that's being planned. Now, what that means in layman's terms, you could have a project that's going to be a year long or 2 years long. With this software, you can see the entire project from start to finish, but you can also break it down in its incremental bits and pieces. So if the cost of a piece or a part that you need at one point in that time frame changes, you can monitor that right away. Like it says here, it allows for the accurate allocation of resources and logistics. And again, that's going in and seeing it over time as those things change, you're still prepared for those. It also gives you a continuous update as things change throughout the process. You're aware of them while they're changing.
So Microsoft Project is applicable for in real-world situations for many different industries. I personally have used it on many occasions for construction management, for scheduling and planning purposes. Other industries that would receive benefit from using the program include logistics and transportation, banking for software development of certain programs, and also in IT development. Similar to banking, anything that requires project management, planning, and communication tools from a scheduling standpoint, this program is very beneficial. The first thing that we're going to do is discuss opening a project and creating a new project that will be in a standard template that Microsoft provides. Some of the features and some of the buttons, icons that you see on this version of Microsoft Project, which is version 2010, might be slightly different from the version that you have on your computer, but should all in all be very similar, if not the exact same. So from your desktop, once you open up Microsoft Project, the first thing that you'll do is go to File, New, and then double click on Create, and that will open up a blank project template where you'll start to begin your critical and your key project information. Once your new project is created, the box for project information will be automatically prompted, and the first thing that you will have to do is select your project start date. Your project start date will be keyed upon. It doesn't have to be the actual date that you are creating the project. It can be whatever date you need to begin your project, whether it might be in the future or if you're recreating history, if you need to move that date back to show when your project actually was starting. So first select your project start date, hit OK, and that information will be saved and will take you back to the main screen of your project template. Once you are back to the main screen, be sure that you automatically hit save as soon as you do get back to that screen. That will allow you to save the information that you just inputted, and will also allow you to give your schedule a name. So immediately do that as soon as you enter the project start date. So after your project information for your start date is saved and your project is named, the next thing you're going to do, or going to want to do, is verify that the layout or format of your project is how you want it to be, and the information that you want to convey. A key part of this is the columns that are shown. And by default, Microsoft project, or at least this version of it, is going to give you the task name, the duration, the start date for each activity, the finish date, the activity's predecessor, which is right here, and the successor, which is not shown. So those are all the critical elements that are shown in the columns and what you're going to want to convey as you're producing your schedule and providing updates. So the first method, if you do need to change the column layout or the types of columns, is to right-click in any one of the column headings and then select Field Settings after you right-click. And from the Field Settings box, there will be a drop-down menu. As the first item, select the first one under Field Name, and that will provide a drop-down box, and then you'll change that column heading to whatever you want it to be. Our recommended column headings are what they give you in the standard version, or the standard column headings, which will be task name, duration, start, finish, predecessors, and successors. Another way to change the column headings will be to right-click in any one of the column headings and add Insert Column. So if you need to add any additional information beyond, or an additional column beyond what's shown or the default settings, right-click, hit Insert Column, and then from that screen it will prompt the same number of selections, the same selections that are shown in the previous field settings menu. If you can go to the next slide. So these items that are shown here, those are identical. Those selections are identical to what's shown from going to field settings and following the same method.
Now that the key project information is added and the columns are correctly shown, it's time to add activities to the schedule. The first step will be to create milestones. In this case, we'll be creating a start milestone. These activities serve as an indicator of the project start, and they have 0 duration. Ours is going to be titled Notice to Proceed. There will also be a finish milestone following the other activities to signify the end of the project. Milestone activities are encouraged to be used to signify intermediate start and finish dates or critical benchmarks throughout the project. To create milestone activities, click on the Milestone tab, and the task information box will appear. All the required information will need to be filled. Once the start milestone is completed and added, the user should begin entering all the other required project activities. So this process will repeat. This is accomplished by double-clicking in the next open cell in the task name, which is here, and it'll be entering the name in the dialog box as we've got here. Click OK and the task will be added to the previous row. The final product of adding activities will appear like this. Tasks can also be added by single-clicking in an open cell and entering the task name. If a task needs to be added in a particular part of the schedule, you should right-click where the task needs to be added and select Insert Task. The same task information dialog box, same one we've been using all over, will be prompted and the information can be added there. If a task needs to be reorganized at any time, the user can simply highlight a task by selecting the number on the far left column and dragging it to the desired location with a 4-sided arrow that appears when the cursor is over the highlighted fields. So you just select here, wait for the cursor to show up, and move it to your desired location.
So at this point, we have all of our activities inputted into the schedule, but without durations. So the next step that we're going to want to follow is to add durations to each one of the activities that we've previously entered. One note that I do want to make is, as you move forward, if you ever do need to add activities, just follow the same method that Andy just went through by either inserting at the bottom and then dragging and dropping wherever you need it to go, or to right-click on the cell or at the row where you want to insert your activity. So the next step is to go through one of 2 methods. There are 2 methods to add durations to the activities. And the first method that we're going to discuss is underneath the duration column. For each one of the activities, you'll simply highlight the duration cell, and then there will be an up and down arrow that you'll use to toggle with the duration. The default setting for each one of the durations is going to be 1 day. So you'll adjust that accordingly, however many days you need for each one of the activities, move that up or down, and you'll continue to use that same method as you move forward to update your activities or update your schedule throughout the course of the project. The second method is to double click on the activity, and that will prompt the same task information box that we've been using. And from that box, you'll select duration, and it will be the same toggle arrows, the up and down arrows that were on the main screen, where you can adjust your duration up or down to get to the desired number of days that you need for each one of your activities. So now with all of our durations added for each one of our activities, we're ready to move forward and adding some other critical information for each one of the activities, which is going to be the predecessors. The predecessors are the activities that come before each activity that drives the total schedule. So the process that you'll follow will be to add predecessors or the preceding activity for each one of the items that we just added, and that will essentially create all the logic or the relationships for the schedule. So as we're adding the predecessors, there are 4 types of relationships that you can use to link activities or to create the predecessors. Those are finish start, which is going to be your default setting for each one of the activity relationships as you select them. There's also start to start relationships, finish to finish, and then start to finish activities or relationships. But for these purposes, we're going to use finish to start, which is the large majority of the time. That's the type of relationship that you're going to want to use. So to create these relationships, the preferred method or the recommended method is going to double click in the activity. It will prompt the same task information box that we've been using. You'll go to the predecessors tab, and then from the predecessors tab, the first thing you'll do is enter the ID number for the activity that will precede the activity that you just selected. So for this slide, we've selected, or we've double clicked on demolition, which is going to be our first activity that's going to follow our notice to proceed. So that's our first actual activity with any kind of duration that's going to come after our start milestone. So we'll select notice to proceed as our first predecessor, or as our predecessor to demolition. The name for the predecessor will show up in the drop-down menu. You'll confirm the relationship type, and then you'll hit OK, and that relationship link will be created. The second method is to click on the desired activity in the task name cell, and then you'll go over to the right to the activity bar, and then once your arrow is on the bar, a 4-sided arrow will show up. And once the 4-sided arrow shows up, you'll drag and drop that 4-sided arrow to the beginning of the next activity to create the relationship, same as you have from the task information dialog box. So this same method can be used to create the relationships and the logic ties from one activity to the next. So starting at the very beginning and working your way all the way down to your last activity, which in this case is a finish milestone of project